So I think the entire impact can be summed up in one word. For us, it's the impact on the gig workers. And that's quite personal to me because one of the reasons I realized that there was something to fix was because I would speak to these gig workers during COVID, right? Whenever I would take a taxi or order some food, right? Because you're stuck at home or you're traveling to limited free zones as they were during COVID lockdowns, right? And so there's nothing to do. You're barely having any human interaction. So I used that time to actually understand how gig workers make their ends meet because they were the only ones allowed on the streets at the time during quarantine and lockdown. And so for me, the gig workers have always been front and center. We are a B2B company, but really the driver is the real customer. So we've always tried to keep the couriers and drivers happy and make their needs met. And we're actually quite proud of that fact. In all of our pitch decks till date, whether it's a client pitch deck or investor pitch deck, we highlight that our gig workers earn a lot more than traditional gig workers. They have access to benefits. In fact, we have an entire revenue stream that exists because of these gig workers, because we actually help these gig workers get financing access to automobile financing, insurance financing, health financing. The biggest one is their automobile. The other two ones are still less, but we get a cut. So when we arrange a financing scheme to happen between a financing entity and these gig workers, though we're not the financing company, because we facilitated that, we get a revenue stream from that. And so we've seen a lot of benefits coming about when you just treat a human being as a human being. And it sounds commonsensical, but that's actually what these gig working companies have not been doing. We exploited this predatory practice and made it better, and that it benefited my business. Just by actually engaging with your drivers on a day-to-day basis, it helps. The most memorable thing for me has been, I think about a month and a half ago, right before Eid, one of these drivers recognized me in a different part of the area. He just pointed at me and like, yelled at me, and I just went over and chatted with him. And it was just some guy that probably had seen me in our office, and he's one of our drivers, right? And so I chatted with him for a bit, and we just started talking about what he was doing that day, right? He was one of our coffee delivery guys. So that was quite meaningful to me, right? The fact that I might not actually recognize this guy, but this guy has definitely recognized the impact that we've had on him in his livelihood, right? So that drives us quite well. And then we tend to have lower churn than other gig working companies, which is also something we're proud of. So impact, number of drivers is definitely the biggest one.